The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome. My name is Gene Albert, and I'm one of the principals at Lexbe, and we are going to be presenting today a webinar on entitled, Are You Still Paying Too Much for eDiscovery Processing? Leveraging New Technologies to Control eDiscovery Costs. The webinar will be presented by Stu Van Dusen with Lexbe, and will take about a half an hour. These webinars are educational regarding eDiscovery subjects and take place monthly. The presentation will be available for download by registrants, and this one will be available on our website in a couple days. A little bit about Lexbe. We're an eDiscovery software and service provider in Austin, Texas. Lexbe eDiscovery platform is a hosted review platform that, for taking users through the eDiscovery process and getting ready for document review, productions, depositions, trial. We also offer eDiscovery services for large volume document culling, processing, productions, project management, consulting, etc. If you have any technical questions about the webinar, please email us at webinars@lexbe.com and we'll get right back to you. A little bit about Stu. Stu Van Dusen is an eDiscovery solution consultant here at Lexbe, and he advises legal professionals on cloud-based litigation document processing, review, and management software and support services. He has prior experience in financial services, software, and internet-based businesses. Stu has a master's in technology commercialization from University of Texas and a BA in management from Trinity University in San Antonio. And Stu's contact information is there on the slide to the right. With that, I will hand it over to Stu.
Thank you, Gene. Today we're going to be talking about eDiscovery processing, and we'll start by talking about where processing fits into the eDiscovery lifecycle, what eDiscovery processing is, and what some of the problems with traditional ESI processing approaches have been. With this in mind, we'll then talk about where processing costs seem to be heading by taking a look at some macro trends in litigation. After we've gotten a clear idea of the status quo and how that might combine with the trajectory of growing litigation collections, I'd like to introduce Lexbe's alternative processing methodology that significantly alters the financial impact of discovery on overall case budgets. We'll talk about what that means for you as a litigation professional, take a look at an example case to further detail what we mean when we talk about significant cost reductions, and finally take a look at how Lexbe eDiscovery platform integrates with our free processing approach. So these chevrons you see, these represent 7 stages of the discovery lifecycle, starting with planning and collection, moving through to culling and early case analysis, through to processing, review, production, depositions and motions, and finally onto trial and appeal. So for processing fits in post-culling after identifying the ESI that's requiring review. Now the main goals of the processing stage are to get raw native ESI collections into a reviewable format and to do so expeditiously. This is the stage where you can best organize your data to support an efficient review process. In our approach, that means populating the search index with both text extracted from native versions and an OCR application as well. And we call this our dual index approach, and we do this so that search results are as inclusive as possible. And what we mean here is that if data is not in the index, it really can't be searched. Certain elements of your documents won't be indexed if there's not both a native extraction and an OCR scan. Considering the critical importance of being able to comprehensively search your case documents for everything within them, indexing methodologies are definitely something you need to keep an eye out for. So populating the search index is not the only thing going on when we process documents and talk about eDiscovery processing. As you can see from this list of processing features, there's really a tremendous amount happening here. We'll go through several of these in greater detail. So when we talk about data identification and file repair, we need to identify what data we have, what files may be corrupted, systematically repairs those that we can, and identify those that may require additional manual repair. Container expansion, and this means flattening out MSG files, zip files, other kinds of files that may contain attachments or subfolders that also need to be processed into a reviewable format and indexed for search. And then when we talk about deduplication and near-dupe detection, that refers to identifying exact duplicates and near duplicates to defensively reduce the number of documents needing review or support group tagging. When we talk about metadata extraction, that involves taking important, say, invisible data. For example, on email, we want to know who sent the message, who received it, when it was sent, perhaps more technical information, including IP addresses and things like that. And we want to be able to automatically field this data for review and have that be a seamless process. In our system, we talked about native text extraction and optical character recognition earlier, but in our system we create a PDF version of incoming native documents, and we'll talk more about that later as well. And then load file generation is something that is a common issue and a common feature with eDiscovery processing, and processing also can involve the creation of those load files. And so if you need TIFFs, for example, a load file would be necessary to associate the text and image files produced after converting the native version. So now we have a better sense of what exactly we mean when we're talking about eDiscovery processing and what that eDiscovery processing function entails. Maybe a bit more of a technical perspective there. Let's take a step back and look at some of the practical consequences of traditional approaches to eDiscovery processing for your organization. So one of the most common things that we hear from new clients is that their old solution was just too slow. And that's not just in terms of throughput or their the processing resources. There's also this lag to initiate a job, another lag in getting it back. In some cases, there may be a whole week of transfer time on either side of the actual processing function. And then there's the actual processing function. Because of limited locally installed resources that many providers are working with, people can find themselves at the end of a very long line. And if your provider or internal department even isn't prioritizing your specific matter, knowing when you will get your process files back can be a complete mystery. And considering critical deadlines being a major part of any litigation, this can just be dysfunctional. Beyond being slow, we often hear about high costs. Paying hundreds of dollars per gigabyte just seems like too much when you consider all the process improvements and technology developments that have occurred in recent years and over the past couple of decades. And beyond the sheer sticker shock that's an experience, even when just getting a quote, it's the unpredictability of what the task will actually end up costing you. There's many unknowns and dynamic elements to any ESI processing task. And there can be a marked inflation between what you planned to spend and what the final bill communicates to you. And this can come with serious consequences to how you're valuing your case. So with these problems in mind, let's take a look at what's going on in the world of big data and consequently in litigation. What we see over the past decade plus is an exponential growth in the volume and variety of digital data that we're creating, sharing, storing. A recent Radicati study projects that this year there will be upwards of 200 billion emails sent per day, and then that's continuing a trend of 5 to 8% growth a year, and that's a lot of email. And so the consequence for litigation professionals is simply in more data per case. You can see in this particular example that in similar contexts, just 6 years apart, there's more than a 25-fold increase in collection volumes. And what about unit costs? Sure, those are definitely falling. They have to. We've seen those absolutely fall in the past decade. But the issue is that they're not falling fast enough to keep pace with the increase in collection sizes. And we've got some good numbers to quantify that. ESI growth is at about 35–40% per year by conservative measures, and we see industry pricing falling at a 22–23% rate. And so what we're left with here is about a 12–13% differential, and that's a widening gap each year that taxes case resources and forces litigators to make sacrifices elsewhere in their case. So think again about the troubles we talked about with traditional processing, the high costs, the unpredictability in those costs, and also the unpredictability in the turnaround time for these jobs. These trends that we've just talked about, those put further pressure on both the time and money constraints that you have to work with in your case. So why do we think we can beat this macro trend? In 2 words, scalability and integration. We've designed a proprietary processing architecture that can be as fast as you need it to be, and we do this by deploying the appropriate resources, server resources for your matter. And so this works fairly simply. Incoming ESI is broken apart, spread across our massively scalable server environment, so that powerful Amazon Web Services backend servers that we use can progress through your processing tasks in parallel. And so after the processing features we discussed earlier have been completed or applied, your reviewable documents are seamlessly loaded into Lexbe eDiscovery platform for a 6-month hosting term. And so by choosing to integrate your processing with review in Lexbe eDiscovery platform, processing costs are not applied, and you're left with a predictable monthly hosting expense for half a year. And what this means for litigation professionals is that you get free eDiscovery processing when you host your data for 6 months. And as a feature of the review platform itself, you can continue to upload and process data into your case, and that's also for free. You take advantage of our comprehensive review platform at a predictable monthly cost. That's going to be based on the number, simply based on the number of gigabytes that you have hosted within the platform. So to help us sort of understand what the consequence of this is in money terms, let's take a look at what this would look like in a case with 5 users and 10 gigabytes of native data for comparison typical industry costs that we see with our structure. So you can see here we've got several cost assumptions. First of all, we talk about incoming ESI, native ESI, 10 and 10, keep those even, 5 users like we said. And so we're seeing processing fees. $300 is a common processing fee that we're seeing per gigabyte for native processing in the industry. A fee of $90 per gigabyte is pretty typical to load into a review platform. And then hosting, after processing, there's a data expansion. And then hosting costs per gigabyte, a monthly per gigabyte thing, there's a very wide range that you'll see. But somewhere in the 20 to 30 is and even higher is typical. And then user licensing, that's another cost that comes up fairly frequently, and that's going to be a per user, and often that's charged monthly, and it can also be charged yearly. In this case, we've got what would be a typical monthly user fee. And so you can see here under these cost assumptions that in the industry these are very much filled out. And then if you look under our cost assumptions, we simply charge for hosting. And so what that looks like over the 6-month period that we're discussing is a total cost of about $9,000 in the industry to process and review this 10 gigabyte native case with 5 users. And then in the case of Lexbe, we see an overall total 6-month cost of just over $2,000. And that's a significant, that's a 77% reduction in the cost of going through a 10 gigabyte case with five reviewers. And that's very significant. So we can see that there's a clear financial and budgetary benefit to this free processing approach. But what about the platform? We're asking you to host with us, and so we need to deliver on the features and functionality that you would expect from a best-of-breed review platform. So Lexbe eDiscovery platform is fast, robust, supports collaboration between large review teams, and it's highly secure. And security is definitely something that's of the utmost concern to our customers, and therefore the utmost concern to us. And when we're talking about litigation data, especially, our state-of-the-art security certifications and practices include strong data encryption in place and in transit. We keep our data center certifications, certainly up to date and certainly up to the highest standard in the industry. We keep clear ownership rights over your documents so that there's no ambiguities in terms of ownership rights and data rights. and of course redundant backups and recovery. And on top of that, we also complete safe harbor self-certification, and that allows us to comply with international security standards so that we're never limited in the scope of the issues that we can provide a review platform for. So if you're comfortable with that, let's take a closer look at what you can do within Lexbe. I mentioned before that the search is fast and backed by a dual search index for comprehensive search results. We have a Boolean functionality, phonics, stemming, and fuzzy search options, the ability to save, pin, and share searches across review teams to make sure that you're not reworking a complicated search query across each reviewer to get back to the same results. Persistent keyword highlighting. And again, we stressed that the importance of dual indexing and ensuring that the recall of your search query is as perfect as possible. So within our document viewer, this is the function that allows you to view code, create a variety of types of documents. So we'll go through that. So our hits page, that's just showing you both persistent keywords and also the search query that you've put in under hits. We have original HTML and PDF versions available for view, and then a page version for large PDF documents so that you're not waiting for hundreds of pages to load at a time. And then a text version of the document as well. And let's talk about redacted and annotated versions. So we have an annotation editor that allows you to create notes and highlighting on top of a document and creates a separate version, and that's for depo preposition, transcript analysis, and those functions. Additionally, there's a redaction feature that allows you to redact documents within the browser, and that is to remove confidential content from the document, and that creates a separate version, and then we re-index the redacted version so that when you produce what you've redacted isn't going to be searchable by the opposing side, even though it's underneath a redacted tab. And also important function within Lexbe is that we've optimized these review workflows to support the most efficient review possible. Recent RAND study talks about how 73% of the costs associated with discovery are from review, and oftentimes that has to do with or you can really limit that expense by optimizing workflows and making things sort of as efficient as possible. And we've attempted to do that both in the context of large-scale managed review teams and in small review teams alike. Talk about the ability to create custom fields within our program, and that means that you can organize your review in the way that you see fit, still relying on standard review designations and classifications. Here in this example, we often work in demonstrations with the Enron data set, the EDRM Enron data set that's often used for different demonstrations and sort of benchmarking, speed testing, and things like that. So here you can see that your review platform is not going to come with these off-balance partner sheets and damage codings right in there, but it's very easy within Lexbe to create these custom fields so that you can have customized issue coding that's as specific as you need it to be to your matter. So in addition to that, Lexbe Discovery platform includes timeline and case management functionality, and oftentimes in certain review platforms, there's not. This isn't included. This would be sort of an add-on or a bolt-on feature that you may have to pay additional licensing fees for. This is available within Lexbe, and there's seamless integration and tagging available between facts and issues and the documents themselves that support those facts and support your case. And as you can see here in this image, we've got sort of broken out what the timeline view looks at, and on the right here, you can see that there's a visual timeline that sort of gives you the big picture of when these facts interrelate with each other in a chronological sense. So these case management functions that we're talking about, timelining, et cetera, those are available, or you can manipulate those within the document viewer as well. And we're talking again before about annotation, and this is different than annotation, but this would be fact highlighting, and then associate. So when you're within the document viewer, you can see that there's these different tabs on the right. Instead of working back and forth between facts and issues and case management functionality, when you're within a document, you can associate facts and associate issues. Again, just another way that we've attempted to optimize the workflow. And downloading documents, another concern that we often hear about with different review platforms is the sort of restrictions or the difficulty of moving documents not only in but out of the system. And we've made it as easy as possible for you to move documents both into the system. I talked about our in-browser ingestion feature, as well as moving those documents out. And we know that there's various times throughout the review life cycle where you're going to need to pull things out for depositions, conferences, motions, different forms of trial prep that may not be leading up to a direct production. And we can and we support this download functionality across a variety of formats, trying to give you the flexibility to do what you need to do with your case documents while also still maintaining that state-of-the-art security. And so you're able to create briefcases, create productions to get things out, and also secure web links available. And so an example of that would be, traditionally when you're producing to the other side, you'd be having to produce out of the system, download a file, and then send the physical file over in some sort of format to the opposing side. Within our system, we actually have the ability to create a shared production link, and so you can deliver your production to the opposing side via link, which reduces a lot of the sort of risk that's associated when you're pressed right up against that timeline and you're trying to download documents out and you run into problems downloading or just simply running out of time. That can be very helpful. So we've talked a bit about what you can do within the Lexbe eDiscovery platform. There's certainly a lot more that you can do, and just to direct you towards some resources that would be available to learn more about not just what the Lexbe eDiscovery platform can do and why it's an excellent choice for hosting a review, but also just discussing some of the sub-features within the platform, and then also discussing just eDiscovery topics generally and how those would apply and relate into our platform. We're always available for complimentary eDiscovery consultations. We'd love to hear about your case and the specific needs and advise you on what we think some best practices and best approaches might be. If you'd like to see the Lexbe eDiscovery platform in action, we're always available for demonstrations as well. And if you're the type to prefer to go ahead and take a hands-on approach to evaluating these kinds of things, a 15-day trial is also available to anyone who's interested, and all that takes is contacting us, and we are happy to set you up and guide you through the trial. We have free trainings on Wednesdays as well to sort of help you orient yourself to the different features and functionality, and we welcome questions in advance for that as well. And so with that, I appreciate your time and considering sort of what we're talking about here and the different options that you have when it comes to eDiscovery processing and hosting your review, considering the different choices that you have in terms of cost and in terms of functionality. We strongly assert that there's new technologies available that can absolutely support not only the highest quality review available, but also considering sort of the budgetary restrictions and changing trends in the eDiscovery space, and this is an excellent option. So with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Gene, and thanks again for everyone's time, and hopefully we can talk soon.
Thank you, Stu. That was really informative. We'll just close up with some contact information here. You can see Stu's email and phone number and our general one there. Please contact us if we can help with anything. And if you have any questions about the webinars, you see the email for that. And at our website, people can sign up for it if you have anybody else that would be interested. We will get this one prepared and posted onto the website in a couple days. And if anything else, give us a call. Thank you.